Okay, we're live. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. All right, do you see the chart?
Yes, I see it now.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. So we have Merrick. When's your birthday?
March 13, 1986,
And time?
8:35 p.m.,
And place?
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so Merrick, I always start with the same question, which is what is happening in your world currently?
I'm going through a mountain of transformations all at once right now. I'm currently starting my own business that I've been working on for a while that works with nervous system regulation through ancestral work in particular and decolonizing lenses. And I'm also looking to move really soon because I've been living in a very incompatible situation while I was recovering through significant health issues that affected me and both my parents. And I'm trying to think what else is going on. Those are the big things. So that's probably somewhere to start.
Yeah. So you're about to start a business. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, I can. I'm taking both my lived experience with learning how to heal and work through really transformative experiences and alchemize them into better outcomes while also expanding my capacity and resilience of my nervous system. So everything that I learned both through lived experience, but also different certifications and trainings that I got in the course of trying to heal and figure out what was happening to me that had made me so sick. And it came along with a big spiritual awakening. So that definitely informs all of my praxis and my ethos, along with, like I said, the decolonial lens that has been really helpful as I've been leaning into my ancestral work and doing the shadow work that comes along with running a business and your life, I guess, if you're heavily Plutonian.
But you haven't started just yet.
I have started. I've been teaching classes, Vulcan trance dance, more commonly known as polo, and I've been teaching breathwork classes as well as doing lessons around cultural rituals and things like that as part of my healing and initiation through that.
Wait, you said polo? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Kolo dancing, Balkan
Ah,
folk dancing. So kolo, horo, oro.
interesting. And you're doing that since how long?
I've been doing that the last few months. So my first class was 2 months ago.
And you teach the Kolo dance.
Yeah, I teach it through a lens of trauma informed. So about using it as both a trance ritual as well as a co-regulation tool in community to help regulate the nervous system and navigate all sorts of things.
So you started around your birthday.
Yes, yes, I did.
Makes sense, right? Because it's your solar
Yep,
return, so you're starting a new. Okay, there's things are starting to come online for me.
very cool. Yeah, I really saw this. I'm 40 now, and I saw turning 40 as, a big milestone in terms of like needing to really get a lot of things back on track. And the pressure from my guides was strong on that.
Okay, the one thing I just want to say before we continue is because some of the ideas you're introducing me to are very new for me. Like I haven't heard about anything that you've
Sure.
mentioned, right? So it's the vocabulary. I will keep
Bring it.
asking you to get more words so I have the right vocabulary to reflect. But I immediately sense, first of all, of course, it was your birthday, but even more importantly, in the case of this year, Saturn is conjunct your Venus in Aries in the sixth house. And when you talk about teaching a class, and it's specifically dance, there's a lot of movement, energy that's happening in dance. Therefore, I immediately feel your Venus in Aries. And the fact that Saturn is there for me is that you're like teaching that to other people. So can you say a bit more about what that process is? What does it look like when you're there? What do you actually teach?
Absolutely. So in the process, I start with having a conversation about the culture and the practices, and if there's any um, social nuances that folks need to know about engaging in a line dance, essentially, because it is a very community-based practice. And then we center in a very ritualistic way so that we're very embodied with ourselves, very in touch with our bodies and our energy. And then we move into the actual choreography. And I find that helps us to learn the choreography more easily. And I tend to choose more simple footwork based dances so that it's a little bit more accessible, because not all of the people learning have ever learned these dances before, or even familiar with Balkan culture. Um, so I use the opportunity to throw in those bits of information around different aspects of different Balkan cultures while I'm teaching them the footwork. And then as we get used to that energy, I start guiding us towards the ritual aspect where we have our intentions set and we lift that vibration, kind of like the dance is lifting a prayer, the way incense lifts prayer in a church.
Okay, for me, I'm totally hearing your Venus Saturn trine from Aries to Sag. Um, okay, Venus for me is like the dancing, where Saturn for me is more the tradition that you're teaching. And I didn't really understand about what, so where does that, is it Romanian, just Eastern European altogether, Balkan?
Yeah, in the Balkan region. So I teach dances from Serbia, Croatia, Macedonia. There are some Bulgarian dances as well. And I also have some from Vojvodina and Kosovo and that general region, a couple of Albanian dances as well,
Oh,
and a
okay,
few
so
Greek.
all right, so do you hear the Sag, Aries in what you're describing?
Yes, about the historic and cultural traditions of why we dance and what it served us historically, which is something I really love tying that correlation between for folks to see that this is a practice that we've been doing as communities, not just in the Balkans, but circle dances exist all throughout the world in a similar capacity for millennia. So this is something that ties us to something very primal and powerful within ourselves
And
in ritual.
ritualistic, right? So the Sag, I feel again that for you it's the ritual, the learning, like the culture, the tradition.
Exactly. I did not enjoy teaching dance most of the past many years that I've taught dance, because I've taught dance on and off for a couple decades. This was the first time that it really resonated, and I felt like I knew what I was really doing, even though I've studied other dances to the same extent. I mean, well, maybe I've studied polo since I was 5, so 35 years of dancing is a little bit more, but still, it's anchoring into that ancestral traditional wisdom has been a game changer throughout my life, and especially in teaching.
Okay. Well, your Venus Saturn is so strong. I guess because you're ruled by Venus, right? Libra rising. And of
Yeah.
course, the Aries part for me is becoming very clear. The Venus Aries 6, the dancing, right? Because it's high energy, it's a lot of movement.
Absolutely. Lots of upbeat footwork. Even the very slow dances are full of intention and embodied movement. So, I mean, the actual dances of Kolo and Horo and Oro historically were also used as a mating practice. It was kind of to see who could last the longest on the dance floor, because that person had endurance and strength and all the skills you wanted in a good, strong partner to live on the mountainside or in the valley.
Wow. Okay. Uh-huh. So I guess, okay, well, that tells me is that you like to move during the day. In general, you're a high energy person.
Yeah. I used to call it exercising my crazy away, and then I realized it's just a tool for regulating my nervous system. Movement keeps me from bubbling over like a pot unwatched.
Right. Or like your chart ruler is an Aries, right? Actually, that for me is fascinating in another level because you told me before we started recording that you're non-binary. And
Yeah.
your name Merrick, for me, I don't know how it reads for you, if it's supposed to be kind of male sounding, but for me it is.
Yes, it's intentionally supposed to be ambiguous so folks could hear it and be like, what are they?
Okay, okay. There I feel again, chart ruling Venus and Aries. Did it take you a while to declare or announce or like come out as non-binary?
To come out, yes. Choosing the name was the easiest part. That was a channeled process with my ancestors and guides, but the actual process of coming out and realizing I was non-binary, I realized when I was 10 years old that I was non-binary, but I didn't have language, and we didn't have I met one trans person in the town I grew up in when I was in high school, so many years later, but they were not non-binary, and I didn't meet another non-binary person until maybe 10 years ago. So I went my whole life feeling like I was very much just like, I asked my mom, what do we do if you're not a boy or a girl? And I was kind of told, that's a big question. Why don't you just save that for later? And we never really came back to it until I was like, by the way, I'm non-binary. And
Hmm.
it was a process of also learning about my neurodivergence at the same time, because I didn't realize that the reason why my brain works different is because it is different, not just because it's a broken normal brain. So those two things came together at once.
Okay,
Back in
therefore I'm feeling your Pisces stellium, the neurodivergence. There was something else that you had pointed out that really stood out to me. Yeah, because you keep talking about like your ancestors and your guides. That's a specific kind of discourse that not many people. So I feel again kind of the Sun, Jupiter, Mercury that are all in Pisces. When you talk about guides, is that something that you visualize? Does it come as sound?
Yes, both. I have guides of various embodiments. Some are human-like, some are, I have two that are dragons, and other guides that are, animal familiars. And
Mm,
uh, it's a combination of factors. I can see them. I also have the clairaudience where I can hear things in addition to the telepathy. So it's kind of like a combination of those three things coming together when I'm communicating with them, mostly through the claircognizance, clairaudience, and um, telepathy. But sometimes they'll literally just sit down right next to me when I've been ignoring them.
interesting. Yeah, I feel the dragons there as well because of the excess of fire that is in your chart, and especially the Venus and Aries. Can you, so this I'm also feeling in your sickness because you said that you were really ill for a period. What can you explain?
Yes, those were intergenerational baggage that I had to break essentially. I didn't realize what I was sick with. I just knew that everyone who had been in my family, particularly on my mom's side, had been sick with the same combination of dysautonomia, which affects your brain and your heart through, it's a dysregulated autonomic nervous system from a whole bunch of factors. It can happen from physical traumas or emotional traumas, or it can be something that is a way that your body is designed when you're born. So it can come on in a couple ways. But I also had a couple other diagnoses, and I learned about my neurodivergence, which taught me that a lot of people with neurodivergence and who are non-binary happen to also have this combination of things. And then it came out after I'd done a lot more research that it's more tied to your energetic relationship to yourself and the world, that the autoimmune issues and the way that my body had been attacking itself were a reflection of me not living in alignment and forcing things that were not supposed to be happening in my life. I can be incredibly stubborn, and I was in so many ways trying to uh, either at least prove that the way that I was taught I had to live my life worked or didn't work. So I was just going to commit to it and follow through. And the way that I was taught to live my life was not aligned and didn't work. And so the more I pushed against all of that, the worse the symptoms of the diagnoses got, including being bedridden for like months at a time. I hadn't been able to work for years at a time. Uh, it
Okay, so
affected my
this is
relationships.
like a like how long would you say you were working through this?
Couple of decades.
Oh, okay. Here I thought you were gonna say couple years.
Yeah, it got worse and worse over the course of, by the time I turned 25, it had gotten really, really impactful. So I'd started experiencing transient homelessness and losing jobs all the time because I wasn't able to sustain my health long enough to keep jobs. And then it just kept spiraling from there. Part of why I'm living with my parents at the moment. It's
So,
part of the
so,
intergenerational.
so what would so you could like you would get tired or like you wouldn't be able to like move because you were bedridden.
Yeah, excruciating pain, nausea to the point where I couldn't eat, and I lost so much weight that I was malnourished. I had to relearn how to walk because my hypermobile joints had gotten all messed up, so I wasn't able to walk, and that was contributing to the pain. And all of that made me really, really tired. Plus, literally being allergic to everything with something called mast cell activation. All of that stress caused my body to dump histamines, which made everything worse, rashes and digestive issues and brain fog, things like that, that make it really hard to function.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. And the more that I've broken patterns of all sorts of things, so, eating foods that are more aligned with my body, not just what I'm told are supposed to,
Hmm.
that's going to be fine or you should eat that, and moving in ways that are resonant, not pushing my body to extremes. Finding the harmony that's resonant with my soul and returning to more traditional practices and ancestral work has all been the components in what has helped me to heal and recover to where I'm actually getting discharged from one of my primary specialists, my neurocardiologist, because I've made so much progress in the last couple years, mostly through lifestyle and mentality changes more than anything else.
Okay. Yeah, I see that finding the lifestyle that works for you was a big journey and still is. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, living how you want to live, doing the things that feel good, having a routine during the day that you establish.
yeah. And ones
Mhm.
that work with me, not just ones that I'm told, if you do these, you'll be able to human right and then you'll be successful and then things will stop sucking. And I was like, really? Because every time I play by the rules, it starts sucking harder. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And you said that you were hypermobile.
Yeah, so I have a lot of mobility, hypermobility in my joints and a lot of laxity in my tissues, which means that I can faint if I get like overexerting myself and stuff like that because the valves and everything don't quite hold blood and joints the way that they're supposed to.
So you can get easily injured.
Yeah, my joints pop out probably once a day at least.
I see. Okay, therefore I feel the Mars-Uranus conjunction.
Is that what that's about? Okay. I'm going to dive deeper into that for sure after our conversation.
You said that sometimes you couldn't walk even.
Yeah, yeah, there was times where it was I've had to use a cane, and times where my body was in so much pain and had so much exhaustion where I would sleep for, but the worst period, I was unconscious for a couple days in a row throughout a 2.5 week period.
A lot of inflammation, irritation, agitation, pain.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Uh-huh, and having to like move slowly, not being able to, I see. Okay, this for me,
Yeah.
this is all like the Venus Saturn trine in your chart is like really strong. Absolutely everything that you've told me about your conditions for me fits just into that.
And that really resonates with why being able to return to Kolo as a practice and as something that I've always loved has been so medicinal for me and so powerful. It was one of the very first things that I wanted to be able to do was dance, because even when I couldn't get up and move around my room, I'd lay in my bed and I'd be Kolo dancing with my feet just across the bottom of the bed. And my dog's like, "What are you doing up there? Stop kicking." I'm like, "No, I'm dancing. Calm down."
Interesting. So it took you a long time to finally be able to dance.
Yeah, to be able to get back into it. I used to dance constantly as a kid, and then got away from it because, life and responsibilities, but getting sick took it from me. And that was like heartbreaking, literally.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling your Venus in the sixth Aries very much, right? It was dance was a big part of your life. You always loved movement, but then there's the Saturn. It was taken away from you, and for a long period you couldn't. You had to work hard to restore your capacity to move and to enjoy. This also makes me think that you were probably doing a lot of research, like trying to understand what's going on, working with different doctors, trying different diets. Like it was constant testing of what can work for you.
Yes, I became a really good guinea pig and scientist simultaneously. And so I've gotten to work really well with the neurocardiologist. And we have really good conversations now that I'm at that level of having done so much reading.
Yeah. Okay. Do you feel Saturn in Sag, the neurocardiologist, right? A person who's extremely educated and working with them very closely on your health and your body, and you're the study subject. Yeah, the chart ruler Venus in the sixth with Saturn. Do you see that story? Can that make sense to you already? Just when I reflected to you?
Yes, it's unfolding, and it's something that I'm really excited to lean into, because it feels like it holds more insights around how I'm going to continue to regain and reclaim my health.
Do you
Like
have brothers?
continuing. I do. I have two younger brothers.
Yeah, it's pretty strong in your chart because of your chart ruler in Aries, but also Mars in your third. So, what's it like with your brothers?
One of them I'm not in communication with, and that's been since 2022.
Was he like
And
violent, aggressive, overbearing?
he's very overbearing. And in the past, he was aggressive and violent. I don't know what he's like nowadays. I'm hoping that he's changed a lot now that he's got a family and he seemed to be on a better trajectory. But his and I have a really, really rough history between us from the time we were kids.
Yes. Was he kind of mean or like intense,
Yeah, he really
unpredictable?
enjoyed bullying me and being unpredictable, and he
Mm,
kind of made it his goal to see if he could dysregulate me, since I was typically the one who was trying to regulate the household. He would kind of like get over agitated and feel out of control around things. So his sense of trying to feel in control was to take me out of control of my emotions in my life. And it was a weird dynamic.
okay, do you see the Mars Uranus in the third in that?
Wow. Huh. So that was just it. These things are validating because for a long time I internalized it as somehow I was always triggering him and me being a problem because of that, because of internalized concept I'd been given about who I am as a person. But this validates that it was not something that I did. This is something that needed to play out in our charts.
Okay, yeah,
We've
that's right.
we've got past life karma. I know
And
that.
triggering him how?
Oh, just by existing. I tend to have this influence on people where just existing as I am can be very triggering to them because I speak very plainly, and I don't have malicious intentions generally, but I don't sugarcoat. I just speak really directly. And if I say something that someone's ego or self-esteem hasn't got the resilience or capacity to hold space for, they typically take it out on me
Okay.
because I can regulate.
Do you feel that again, Mars Uranus in your third?
Yeah, that's
Because
been
the
a
third,
pattern.
yeah, it's also about your communications with other people, not only how you are, but also like the response that you get. So obviously that's pretty argumentative and like quickly escalating, let's say. Mars Uranus Sag is like very, very high energy. And to be
Yeah.
honest, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm always amazed at how quickly things escalate. Like all I said was XYZ. I just said something and even when I try to like de-inflame the situation, it'll be like, and it still escalated.
Okay. Yeah, and also that you trigger people and you speak matter of fact and you're very direct, right? Again, Mars in the third. But even because I talk to a lot of people, and what immediately impressed me about you is that you're moving at a very high speed when you're talking, and I have to like really slow down and listen because it's a lot of new information, but it pours out of you rapidly.
I am very good
Yeah.
at channeling, and that can be great and it can be triggering, which I think is when the triggers come in. It's like I can sometimes be sent as a messenger, whether or not I realized it. And in that moment, we're both surprised. There's big feelings now, and it's exciting.
Yeah, just a second, I have to move. Are you taking the car? All right. See you.
Safe travels.
Yeah, my boyfriend's on his way. All right.
Awesome. Oh, I love the interior.
Yeah, we live in a
I
tiny
love the
house.
I love the natural wood and everything. Living in a tiny house has been a dream for me
Oh, has it?
for a long time, at least the past decade.
Makes me think about your moon in Taurus.
Yeah, it's my like dream is to live in some sort of cottagey situation. It does not have to be super small or super big, but a house on the edge of the woods. I'm very much the witch on the edge of the woods. I love my space. I love my solitude, and I love to go visit my friends, but especially with the things that I've gone through in life, having a safe and secure sense of home is so deeply important to me.
Okay, moon in Taurus. I'm hearing that.
And I'm
Mm.
really good at making any space. Like I've been homeless so many times, but and been able to make every space a homey, comfortable. Even when I was on the street, my
Mm.
dog and I shared a tent, and it was like the coziest little tent, and we'd find the cutest little rivers to sleep next to. Like we just made it work. So
The
yeah,
cutest little rivers, okay.
yeah.
Therefore, I'm feeling the Jupiter with the moon. Why were you homeless?
I kept losing my jobs because of not being able to keep up with the expectations around like I couldn't deal with the sensory input from the lights and the sounds and all of that. Plus having people actively instigating stuff with me on a daily basis because of that whole like triggering aspect of my personality where I'd have to be people pleasing all the time to make them think that I wasn't actually aggressive with the
Your
workplaces that I kept
coworkers.
ending up in. Yeah, I kept ending up with like patterns of people in my life to work through where they would be really insecure and I'd be going into spaces where I'd have at least one person in the workplace who felt threatened by me and would bully me for no particular reason other than my presence made them feel challenged, which, like it's valid to feel challenged. And they had to learn how to grow up, and I had to learn how to deal with the fact that that's not my problem because that's something that I dealt with over and over since childhood is internalizing other people's anger and frustration about an experience as being my responsibility. So that was part of what
Interesting.
that was all about is unpacking that. But then um, about 10 years ago, no, in 2018 was like kind of the final straw where I was like, I can't tolerate being in toxic relationships just to have a roof over my head. I can't tolerate being in abusive living situations with housemates anymore. And so I got rid of all of my stuff and I lived with a couple of friends for a little while, which went really badly, really quick again, things came to the surface that I didn't know about them and they didn't like that I was not willing to just let everything kind of go. So I, tried to make it peaceful by moving on out and eventually after house hopping through a couple situations, ended up back with my parents, but in the meantime ended up like on the street in Miami and
When
some
was
other
that?
places.
Was that
That
lately?
was that was between 2018 and 2021. The end of 2021 was the last time I lived like transiently. I've been living
I
consistently with
see.
my parents
I
since the
see.
end of
Okay. Well, what sticks out to me about that period, 2018, right?
Hmm.
Pluto is on the cusp of your fourth house in 2018.
Hey, Pluto, good to
And
see you again.
Saturn is approaching there as well, right? They were dancing around there for about 2 years. So, like, no, to 2018, 2019, 2020,
And 2 years prior to that
2021.
was when I left my ex-husband finally. So like in 2018, I'd gotten a divorce, but in 2016, I left my ex-husband and I'd been in a rough relationship during those 2 years. So that tracks for a whole bunch of things all at once.
You were in rough relationships. Like, okay, so
Yeah,
it was again like you're getting close to people and it's horrible.
exactly. Like I get close to them and then really, really not okay aspects of their personality would come out after I had made myself vulnerable and,
I guess
started
that was
putting down
2017,
roots.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, because
2016 was then. Hmm.
yeah, I see. Yeah, because Pluto was squaring your ascendant, which is you, and your descendant, which is your partners, right? So going through several years of a lot of changes, deep, emotional, turbulent, horrible. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was really good to leave my ex-husband because he was very abusive. But like the relationships that I found myself in after I thought I had recovered enough, it was like, oh no, I can still see where I'm in patterns of my the way that I'm negotiating dynamics and interpersonal stuff. I'm still working out how to not find myself with people who are going to manipulate me intentionally and starting to recognize the pattern of how they were doing love bombing and stuff like that. And it gave me a lot of insight into family patterns, which was what I realized part of why I was, in these relationships, both in work and in romantic and friendship as well, was to like replay out some of these familial dynamics that I had not been able to have the context to pull back and really understand what was happening, because with family it's so easy to be in the mix, in the moment, in the heat of it, but when you can actually pull back, it's like, oh, I'm seeing how all of this is happening and I'm seeing how I'm playing into this pattern finally. That was also stuff that I had to learn so I could stop getting sick, because I kept kind of playing those patterns out until I was like, oh, I'm seeing the relationship between the chronic illness and the chronic patterns that are intergenerational, need to be broken.
Oy. Okay. So I'm hearing the Libra rising a lot actually, because I see that much of your teachings have come from your interpersonal relationships with other people at whatever level that may be, but just figuring out how to get along. And then if you think about Venus being placed in Aries, Aries is a very rapid and aggravated sign. And that makes me think about many of your relationships being like short-lived, or they end up in fighting, or they're abusive, or people are kind of easily aggravated, right? So that's a consistent thing that you deal with. And then I feel the Saturn coming in, right? And so it's like constantly, again and again, you struggle to get along with these people.
And eventually had internalized that for a while as, oh, I'm obviously the problem if I'm having all of this relational discord. And to an extent, it was a pattern I was playing into, but also starting to recognize that it was the kind of people that I was relating with, the kind of people I was engaging with. And that pattern was like, oh, maybe I don't want to engage with people who are, putting me down jokingly in the first couple of days
Hmm.
of meeting each other, because that's probably a good indication that they're threatened by who I am, and that's going to escalate down the road into them
I see.
resenting
I
me.
just suddenly felt your moon, like you were very dependent on people and you were seeking security in them and you were just
Codependent
trying to
relationship.
get close, and then you were
Yeah.
being, then I feel the Pluto opposition.
Hmm. Yeah.
That you would kind of bury yourself in order to keep the peace, and you would
Yes. Yes, I did. I buried a lot of parts of myself. So there's been a lot of points where I'm like, I'm excavating myself, and people are like, who are you? We don't even know who you are.
uh,
Like, valid, I was hiding and I shouldn't have been, and now I know why.
I get it. It's like you were morphing yourself in order to be sure that those people are going to keep you close.
Mhm. Yeah,
Is it?
because having relational safety was something that I've never really had, and it was something that I've always craved. I had to give it to myself first
Mm,
and foremost, but went through a lot of experiences externalizing that need fulfillment for a long time.
okay. Do you feel that opposition now?
I do. I do. I can see that conflict, and it makes so much sense, especially with what I recently learned about how Pluto influences things and the moon as well.
Okay, where are you at with that currently? Because you said that you're at home with your parents at the moment. I guess there's healing happening there.
Yeah. So at the moment, I feel like I'm in that liminal space where I'm about to launch into the next big aspect. Like it's going to expand. And a lot of what I'm doing now is building more capacity and resilience for the good things because I had to learn how to hold uh hold the difficult things. And then I had to learn how to hold the contradiction of difficult things and good things being able to exist simultaneously in my field. And so as I've been doing that energy work, being here has been a huge part of that because my family challenges so many of my shadows and my wounds, forcing me to become the most aware and embodied version of myself so I can step into the next level of teaching culture and teaching dance and creating the arts that I'm, supposed to do as a channel. Because I've been able to connect to my guides and everything, but actually taking everything that I've been integrating and alchemizing and birthing that into my physical reality is like that's where I'm at right now in my changes, making those last shifts so I can Sagittarius it with my direction right into let's get this. Let's fulfill some dreams and purposes here.
What would that look like? Like, what is
It
the next
looks
step?
like the next step is that I am planning on getting, I don't know if I'm going to be uh, getting my actual residency full time in Serbia because I know that that would require giving up my residency in the US. And there's things that I haven't been given the full insight, but I am meant to at least part time live in my ancestral homeland near where my recent ancestors had been living in Serbia. I have ancestors in Croatia as well, but Serbia specifically is where I've been called to start creating altars and bringing in more of the traditional wisdom that I had I had some access to growing up, but I've had to really do my diligence to have access to things beyond just what my parents and church wanted me to have access to. So I've been
Hmm.
pivoting a lot of things into that and building up my capacity for that kind of transformation, knowing that I've been putting a lot of energy into just existing where I am and shifting that existing survival vibe into that, like, Delulu is the Salulu. So forcing my brain to go, oh yeah, this is happening. You're moving to Serbia in the next year or so, and you're gonna do XYZ. So get all your ducks in a row, work on your paperwork, get your business in line so that you have that to go, hey, this is, part of there's all sorts of paperwork around having a job and all that stuff that yeah, I don't need to get into right now, but getting all that together. And I recently started a mentorship with one of my friends in my spiritual, who's a leader of the spiritual community I'm in. So she's helping me hold accountability for doing all of these things that we're talking about, including getting to Serbia, because my Pluto MC line actually runs right through my homelands. And so while some people, it can be a really like destabilizing thing because of how my Plutonian placements are. And after talking through mentorship, it would be a really good shift for me that it's gonna
Yeah, for
bust
me
open a lot of
also, if
stuff.
you think about it, like Pluto is the slowest moving 250-year cycle or whatever, right? So when we talk about ancestors and generations and things that come from the long, long ancient past, Pluto.
Hmm.
And is it like around October, like autumn time feels significant in that move?
That's what I keep feeling is like it's either gonna start then or I'll have moved by then. And I
Exactly.
might not move directly to there, like from here. I might move somewhere else before I get to move there, but I feel like I'm going to be moving from here by
Okay,
autumn.
yeah. So I want to exactly, that's what I was thinking. I'll explain. So notice that transiting Pluto is in your fourth house currently. And he's squaring your natal Pluto and your natal moon simultaneously. So over the past few years that you've been at your parents' place, like that has been active throughout. That makes me think about all the healing that you've done with them on all the things that had happened in the past and ongoing. However, at this moment, Pluto is retrograde. And in fact, he's moving back towards the final square with your moon, which is going to be in October. And when it's about Aquarius, we're talking about like nations at that point, because Aquarius represents organizations, communities, like larger groupings of people. Therefore, like Serbia, right? Having to work with the Serbian government to apply for the papers, to do all the things you need to do, submit the applications you need to submit, right? Because you're planning on changing countries, possibly giving up your residency, right? So all these big changes feel like the Pluto square to your moon.
And you saying
And then in
community
October,
adds
huh?
adding community is another layer. I want to start a farm that is a communal living and working space that is spiritually rooted in ancestral traditions. So
Perfect. Well,
carry on.
look, there's the moon in Taurus, the farmland, but in community, Aquarius. So doing it all together. And for me, because as Pluto's going to station direct in October, that's when he starts moving forward again. So that for me is like, okay, that's then the next step happens in October, naturally, towards that dream that you're working towards. And then when you told me about like, okay, so you have this friend that is helping you like stay accountable. There I feel Saturn conjunct your Venus in the sixth Aries, right?
Thanks, Midori. Yes.
What's her name? Midori?
Yeah, Midori, Sanctuary Studio.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah,
So, go ahead.
she's been helping me do a lot of ancestral work for the past couple years in the spiritual community, and that's become a significant focus of our work, doing art alchemy through the ancestral lens and decolonial work, and all of it's tied together. So I'm feeling really positively emotional.
Okay, interesting. I'm feeling the moon Jupiter in her Midori. Is she like, I guess she's Asian of some kind, Japanese maybe?
Okinawan, and is she also part Chinese? I don't know, but she is Okinawan.
Well, I feel that she's kind of the moon in Taurus because she's someone that you can rely on and someone that is by your side and someone that you're like friends with and she's supporting you. Right, so I feel that kind of different dynamic that you've been working towards being expressed through that relationship to her. I don't know, it's just I'm picking that up. And then
Yeah.
the Jupiter makes me think, well, the way you guys are connected is through dance and through art. Can you say more about that? Like what other kind of yeah, what else is happening there in the studio?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Midori runs these art alchemy sessions and uses a bunch of really cool divination tools to lead you through channeling opportunities, depending on what your goals are. And in this context, I have wanted to work with channeling my Balkan ancestors more than my Western European ancestors. So Midori actually has been one of the people who's been at my polo dance classes, and during some of the workshops that Midori leads, we've done things where I've painted little icons and had lots of insights come through, because sometimes it'll be either during hers or my friend BA's sessions, who does like a lot of the writing, because the three of us tend to work together a lot. Um, a lot of things will come through either, um, I can hear the channeled messages while I'm just making art, which is one of the ways that my ancestors said they really like to be in touch with me, is while I'm making ancestral art, they'll share whatever insights they need to, or doing the
Mm,
automatic writing and just letting whatever comes through during a channeled session end up on the page and then reflecting back through that.
okay, I'm feeling the Jupiter in the fifth house Pisces very much.
Yeah.
Magic and art.
Yeah, lots of using magic and art to alchemize um, opportunities, experiences, not just what we've gone through, but to create new realities. So it's been very foundational in helping me establish altars and practices and rituals to align with
Yeah.
my Pluto MC line to get there.
Altars, practices, rituals. I'm feeling the Jupiter so much coming through. Okay, now I feel like you do all kinds of different art media. You're not really stuck in one and you're totally open to explore all vast kinds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I do literally all the things. I had a really hard time creating a social media account because they want you to like niche down to something. I'm like, I literally
Mm,
do everything. If I see an art and I want to try it as an expression, I feel like I'm supposed to do it because I'm channeled to create something. I'm not a writer, I'm an artist who uses art as a method to channel messages from either
okay.
my shadows or from my guides.
Okay. Sun, Jupiter, Pisces in the fifth, right? Using
Yup.
art to channel messages from the guides.
Yup.
Okay.
And it's been ever since I was a kid, it's how it functioned. I used to get so frustrated because if I lost my flow state, not understanding how flow state works, what it was, or anything when I was 9 years old, but I'd be so mad if I got interrupted in the middle of channeling a poem. I couldn't get back into it. I had to, I have to finish this right now. Whatever I'm working on, y'all have to wait. So of course, I was a real treat to be around for that. I wasn't mean about it, but I was like, I'm busy. I'm making art. Wait.
Uh-huh.
If I lose the thread, it's never coming back. Now I know how to get back into the flow and the thread, but that's been a really fun adventure.
Uh-huh. So you're kind of cosmic.
Yeah, I like to think so. I actually thought I was an alien for a while. It was my whole handle until Instagram deleted the account. It was
Yeah.
Merrick the alien.
Yeah, there's something about grounding and magic together. It's very strong here.
Yeah. Magic rituals are deeply grounding for me.
Yeah.
Even as simple as just intentionally putting my feet on the earth, but the more deeply I focus and intend and anchor in, the more powerful it is. So even though I'm really good at dissociating as a surviving mechanism, learning how to anchor and alchemize that grounding has been so
Mhm.
medicinal. But dissociating can be helpful too. It can be useful in channeling situations or really triggering situations where you're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah. You have a lot of mutability in your chart, like so much Pisces and Sag. That makes me think about the dissociation also. And also having all these different symptoms that you don't really understand. You have to explore over time. I'm also feeling the
Oh, yeah.
presence of animals here, like natural life feels very strong and connection with nature, with fairies, with trees, with plants, with flowers.
Very much on both things. The dissociation and those actually tie in really well because I do experience multiple timelines simultaneously. Like I can see them laid out and I can see trajectories and I can sometimes experience multiple timelines happening concurrently, which is really confusing and annoying, especially when it's another version of me, like losing their shit because they're scared over something. Um, and I have found that one of the easiest ways to get clarity is to talk to animals because they seem to be consistently anchored in one reality. And you don't have to worry about what
Ah,
timeline they're on. Like if you can tune in with like my favorite tree, my zapis is a sacred oak tree. It's a part of Serbian culture to have a sacred protector tree. And so I'm like, zapis, I need help. I'm not anchoring in right now. And all I can hear is this other version of Merrick freaking out because their timeline sucks right now. So, like, how do I help them and stay in my body? And it's been really interesting to one, understand why I'm sometimes hearing things that don't make sense to the context around me, why I can see my ancestors and why I can have telepathic conversations with animals. And until I understood that I was multidimensional, it was like, oh, I'm just crazy. I mean, I am crazy, but I'm like fun crazy. I'm not like scary, commit me crazy. I've already been into a impatient, so I'm good.
mm-hmm. Okay. Therefore, I'm feeling your Sun Mercury conjunction, especially that Mercury is retrograde and they're both in Pisces. So when you tell me about how you're seeing multiple timelines at once. I guess that can be very confusing because you can get lost in like, where are you actually? Which string is the real one? So I feel that like being privy to all kinds of streams of information crossing, that feels like the Sun, Mercury, Pisces very much.
That tracks. Sun, Mercury, Pisces
And
absolutely is.
also like a lot of telepathy, also receiving messages for people, from people, people that are passed on, different kinds of creatures.
Yeah. My dog loves to talk to me, especially when I'm busy. He loves that he has telepathy skills with me. He loves annoying me with it, and I love him for it.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so that part of you for me is again very much the moon Jupiter. Like the moon and Taurus in the seventh, especially when you said that animals are so grounded in a single reality, and they are. I mean, yeah, they're completely present.
Yeah, they're so embodied, and
And trees
their
also.
intuition. Yeah,
Yeah, and so that you can speak with all of them. There's the Jupiter connection, yeah, in Pisces. So this for me is like you're not just, because for me when I go out in nature, it doesn't really stimulate me that much. But I imagine you going out and it's like, whoa, you're in a world of conversations between plants, and yeah, I feel like you're really, yeah, connected.
yeah. I actually have a hard time having conversations with humans outside because everything else is so loud for me sometimes. I'm working on that though. Not because I want to, but because I was told to by my guides.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel you like having some trees or some landmarks that you go and you sit at and you visit, and it's kind of like, yeah, friendly places. Or you can feel energy in certain objects.
Absolutely. Ever since I was a kid, I've had special places outdoors where I've gone to feel safe, no matter where I am, where I've
Mm.
moved. I always look for, always there's a tree nearby. Like there's always a tree and there's always water involved. And I might have to go a little further than I'd like to get to them, but I always find a creek or a pond or, a cusp of trees that I can connect to and root with. And like that's my place to go to when wherever I've been living has been unmanageable, or when I'm overwhelmed and don't want to bring that energy back to where I've been staying. And trying to, be responsible about my energy maintenance too.
Okay. Does that make sense when you see it like this now on so many levels?
It really does. And how it's a supportive little chunk there. Yeah,
And that the Pluto I also bring in, because there's like when you get overwhelmed with all the stuff that's happening inside of you, you probably can't manage yourself, and so okay, let me go put this energy in the tree. The tree's going to take it. Tree's going to root it.
yep. Let me give you some food since you're using that like nourishment and I don't need it. Here you go, hon.
Uh, yeah, okay, so I feel like you have a green thumb as well. Like things around you easily grow. You know how to grow different. You know how to plant them together. Comes that you can cook lots of different things. Oh yeah, I can see you exploring all kinds of cuisines.
Definitely. Those are all very accurate. I was just planting yesterday.
What are you planting?
I put in a bunch of flowers and I was preparing some food seeds because I'm going to put in some of those. And there's also a little couple of food seedlings that are ready to go in. Beans, cucumbers, nasturtium, mostly pollinator stuff though, making sure that the local pollinators are well fed in the area. It's one of the
Was
ways
that
that I
like
like to support the land.
Was it like yesterday or like 2 days ago, Max?
It was yesterday and the day before, and I think the day before that.
Okay. What I want to point out to you is that Mars has just entered Taurus when you started planting, right? And is conjunct your moon. Yeah. So you
Putting in
start to plant
roots.
all the, yeah, right? Putting in the roots, planting the seeds, planting the flowers. I guess there's more if you think about it. I'm sure there's more that you did.
Definitely. On the new moon, right as we were approaching that conjunction, I was planting vinca plants with intention in a bowl because the region where vinca culture has existed, which is in like the Serbian region, is super close to where I'm planning on moving, like Lepenski Vinca region. So I planted the flowers from the region with my intentions while I was praying on the new moon to like really anchor in as much as I possibly could.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, you're so interesting. Okay, so it's all about the ancestors.
Yes, they've been loud and proud since I was a kid. I can remember the first time that I can like clearly remember an ancestor interaction was actually when my grandpa died. He died and I could hear my mom coming up the stairs and I knew. I just knew. Like it was back
Mm.
in the 90s, so like it was a house phone. She was all the way downstairs, but as I heard her coming up the stairs, I just knew that my grandfather was gone. Like he'd been able to come to me and I cried really hard for a couple minutes and then just this immense sense of peace. It was like I never experienced grief quite the same way, and I never really feared death in the same way after he died when I was a kid, because he immediately came in and comforted me and was like, all right, and now we're doing this. Like, okay, okay, cool. Because, I'm like a kid, like 10 at the time.
Mhm.
I'm supposed to be
Interesting. And you're the one
crying.
that has those abilities, and I guess the rest of your family doesn't.
They have them to not as intense, like, depths. I think to an extent they've been more like uncomfortable with them and they haven't explored them. I don't know if they would have the same depth if they had put in the same effort, because that's their journey, but they've definitely not wanted to explore it with the same intensity that I have.
Right, you're a big explorer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It actually and I've gotten like braver as time went on, because I had like this whole idea that I was somehow abandoning myself and my family by entertaining this passion to explore, to understand more, to
Yeah, I
expand
feel like you've been on
myself.
the road,
Yeah,
just
I've moved a lot.
in total abandon, like take me universe somewhere, I don't care where, and you're just following.
That's very much been the energy. I get messages sometimes to plant specific dreams, but largely I get the message to let the universe take me on adventures, because whatever the universe has in store for me is so much grander than what I've let myself imagine so far. And if I can let myself be open and build that capacity and resilience to allow and be in that surrender, that's when I've had the most transformational experiences already. And that's what's going to take me to the next levels of whatever I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime. Maybe I teach Colo for life, but maybe I'm supposed to do something else after that. And I won't know if I don't open
Yeah, I
myself up
feel
and
you also being
explore.
kind of a messenger.
Lots of that. Yeah.
Oh, there's something coming up. Hold on.
Yeah.
It's about your voice. It's like you can do different things with your voice.
I am a singer and I can do polyphonic singing, which is incredibly rare. I didn't realize that that was what I was doing until a couple years ago. And I was like, oh, because it's just something that I learned from listening to polyphonic music as a kid growing up, because it's so rampant in Eastern Orthodox churches. So, like, I was always singing polyphonics with other people
Ah.
and then just adapted doing it for myself. I'm still practicing being able to do it on command. So, if you ask me right now, it would sound like crap. But if I practice for a couple minutes and,
Totally, I see hymns and arias and like archangel, like the trumpets. Yeah, I'm hearing the trumpets.
yeah. Yeah, and I use those sounds as both like grounding tools to regulate my nervous system, since the vagus nerve runs through the diaphragm and then that vibrates and causes a parasympathetic reaction through the body of calmness, and like relief. But it also
Mm,
helps me to tap into that ancestral wisdom, because using the voice through oikanye, which is wolf singing, that's like a protected cultural thing in Serbia and Croatia and other areas. um, there's like different vocal practices that have been so important since I was a kid, and it turned out I learned over time that they're all ancestral practices that I just
yeah.
intuitively adapted
Yeah, you're a
without being taught.
spiritualist, big time. You're a ritualist, a shaman. A shaman.
Yeah, I forget what the word is, but there is a word in Serbian for a seer that,
Yeah.
does that shamanic work. Exactly.
Yeah. Hmm.
I do need to improve my Serbian language skills.
And
Like,
language, yeah, that was the next thing. It was like languages. I feel like you're speaking different languages. You're interested in, there's people of different cultures. Like, whoa, that's pretty strong. And not only, I feel like symbols, like runes, tarot, not just human language. Yeah.
definitely a polyglot. I think I'm at like, well, if I'm counting divination tools, then we're probably at like 15 languages.
Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic. And also getting the languages mixed up, like not really having them fully develop, but totally being brave and just like practicing and maybe even having an accent and maybe people don't understand you. We're like, yeah, blah.
I say that I have the skills to get myself into and out of trouble. And absolutely, like when I start speaking Serbian, my voice drops and like my intonation, I become, which is common. People tend to have different personalities associated with languages that reflect the culture that's, common to the vernacular. But it's so cool to experience too and to witness people doing it. But yeah, for sure.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, good. Let's pause there for today.
Great. This has been so much fun. I really, really appreciate that you've been doing this project. I'm so excited to learn more about all the folks that you talk to and like, because this has been amazing. So many things were resonant and so many insights that I'm excited to like lean in and dive in deeper. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Sure. It like once you see it that way, it's actually pretty simple, right? It starts to really make sense. Everything is clicking into place. It's really not that complicated. Yeah. It's another language. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's mythos and storytelling using the stars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Good. I'm gonna stop recording and then you and I are gonna talk for just a couple more minutes. So Merrick and I are signing out.